Next up is Maya.
Hi, I'm Maya and I'm from design, and for my Zenith project I decided to experiment with Blender again. And for context, for my exploration project last year I also used Blender, but it was I kind of failed at it, so we'll get to that later, but I wanted to have my redemption arc, I guess. So this year I decided to do 3D modeling with printer, or make a mini figure thing with printer, Blender, and I also wanted to 3D print the actual thing. So my inspirations were, lately I've been into these collectibles, does anyone know Sony Angels or Pop Art? Yeah. So I wanted to make my own really bad, so that was my inspiration, and this is my explorations last year. The donut, I used a tutorial, so that's why it looks good. And then if you can tell, that's supposed to be a cat. But yeah, I didn't follow a tutorial, I had no clue what I was doing, so it is not good. And I just wanted to get better at Blender because I think, as Eli said, it's becoming an industry standard, and I thought it was a good opportunity to get more proficient at it. Okay, and the materials are the Blender application, obviously. That was easy because it's a free software. And then a 3D printer, which luckily Mr. Flo and Mr. Cho had. I used Mr. Flo's. A mouse, which is important because last year I didn't use a mouse and that made it really hard. I don't know why I didn't use a mouse. I used Miss P's, what is it? The Wacom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was not good. And then KLA filament, the plastic, and then paint to color the figure, and then pliers because you need to rip off some parts of the plastic. So step one was designing the characters. And I wanted to do this little monster devil thing, but make it cute. So I designed the face, and then I decided I wanted to do a chunky kind of design, if that makes sense. Make the head really big. And then I added weapons, but I'll get to that, but there was a problem with the weapons. And step two was practicing with my modeling, because I did it last year, but I didn't really know what I was doing, so I decided to look at some tutorials and practice, and then I decided to use this frog tutorial I found, which was a really helpful tutorial, and this is what I got from it. Also, side note, last year when I did my Blender project, I used a donut tutorial right there, and it looks really good, but the thing was, it was 17 parts on YouTube, and each part was 30 minutes long. So it was really time consuming, and this was only 30 minutes, so it worked out. Step three was modeling my actual piece, and I followed the similar steps to the tutorial since it was a pretty similar shape to what I was going for. And aside from stuff that wasn't there, I just searched up on Google or Reddit for YouTube tutorials. I got what I wanted, and you can kind of see the process here. It's blue, green, and then bottom, and then that's the final. And step four, oh, I didn't put it here, but when you get the model on Blender, you need to change up something so you can actually make it 3D printable, and that was probably 40% of my process, because I had trouble with converting it, and I don't know, it just took a really long time. I converted it into a G-code, which is basically what the 3D printer reads and what it actually prints. Those are the stabilizers, so the plastic doesn't melt off. And then I got to actually print it, and this is a video process. Step five was kind of breaking off the supports that was added, and this was pretty hard. It was harder than I thought because the plastic was really stuck to the actual figure, and I had some injuries, and I still have blisters on my hands, so. And then, I'll get to this later, but I painted the actual thing. And this was easy, I just used some acrylic paint. And then this is the final product. I brought it here. So you guys can take a look. Just pass it out. And be careful with the tail, it might be fragile. So I ran into a lot of problems during this project. Like for one, this was the first 3D printing product and it didn't work out and it was like all bundled up. So I had to do it twice, which wasn't that big of a deal, but it was kind of time consuming. There was also the problem with the Blender file turning it into 3D print, which I mentioned. And some parts of the design broke off, so the weapon that I actually had in the original design, yeah, it broke off. It was too flimsy, but it's okay, it worked out. And there was also like a lot of problem issues with the actual software Blender, and it kept crashing, and like I didn't save my file, and it was a mess. And reflection, what I learned from this project is Blender is definitely hard, but I feel like if you watch a lot of tutorials, then you kind of start to build the skill over time. So if you want to get good at Blender, you need to watch like 100 tutorials, but you'll get good at it eventually. And 3D printing I think it was my first time using a 3D printer, and it was a fun process, so I definitely want to do it again. And yeah, I definitely do this project again, maybe make some of my other designs, and maybe next time I'll tackle some other Blender things like geometry nodes maybe. But yeah, that's it.
You got 7 minutes.
7?
So it's kind of like 2 parts. So the first one, do you think that you would like create a story with like the little mini devil?
Oh yeah. I was originally thinking of that, but I didn't have time, so yeah.
Okay. For like the second part, I just wanted to like say I tried to make like a Pikachu army like years ago with like breaking it off the pliers is actually so much harder than it looks.
No, it is.
So I think that I just want to say that this looks really good.
Yeah. Thank you. Chance and then yeah.
So, with the support material, actually breaking it off can be very difficult, but sometimes it leaves behind like all these little bumps.
Oh yeah.
There wasn't really any left.
Oh really?
I didn't feel any.
I feel like there was a lot, but yeah, thank you.
I was wondering if you like sanded it or something.
I didn't sand it. I was going to, but I didn't have time, and also my print was kind of flimsy, so I didn't want to risk it. Yeah. Taya.
I just want to say that I thought your cat was cool, okay? I thought that last year and I thought it this year too, okay? It was a cool cat.
Okay. I don't know.
It's a little bit like Pikachu, but I think that adds to the design, so I'm just going to say.
Thank you for appreciating my cat. Mary Kate.
So you're saying like that you're just doing like this collectible like aspect, so I was really easy if you're gonna like make like more things to kind of create like
I wanted to, yeah. So in my original design, I made 3. That was just for the design aspect, and I was only planning on doing 1, but like if I could, maybe I could 3D print the other ones too.
and also it looked really good.
Oh, thank you. Eli?
If you had to go back from the beginning, did you change any part of like your actual like model to make it like, easier to print?
So basically, when I was talking about like the weapon thing, apparently I didn't make it big enough. I asked Mr. Cho for advice, and he was like, "Oh, you should make it bigger," but like I didn't make it big enough, obviously. So I think I'd make the overall design bigger and also like more stable. But yeah, and I don't know, I guess in my design I think I should try to avoid like parts that kind of go out, because that can be flimsy, and I had to like super glue the tail like at least 5 times, so yeah. Jensen, Taisia, and then you back there.
Do you think that if you would have like printed the weapon separate, it would have worked out better?
Oh, maybe. But yeah, I could have done that. I think I'll do that next time. Taisia.
And so I saw you had like different character designs. What made you choose the pink one?
I think it was just because it was the first one I did. But yeah, and I guess because like the other parts, like as you can see in the clothes, there was like more layers to it, and like the clothes, the dress part was definitely the hardest to like model. So I wanted something that was easy.
Did you take like a sander to it to make it a little smoother?
Oh, I didn't do that, but I'll definitely do that next time if I remake it. Annie?
Did you do the figure and then model the clothes on top, or did you kind of go like top to bottom? Like what was the process with that?
So basically, I'll just use this as an example. You model the body first, which is like, you get like a circle, and then you kind of pull out the arms and the legs. And after that, in Blender, there's basically like the shapes are made of like vertices, edges, and faces, like regular shapes. So you select like faces on where like a shirt would be, and then you have to like make a copy and then scale it up and then make it fit. Yeah. I think that's it. So